Hello and welcome to this special fight review show. We're focusing on Rodtang versus DJ, the special rules fight from One Championship X. Thank you very much for everybody that watched the breakdown show. I hope the fight played out the way that you expected it to. It was absolute fireworks. I'm going to break the whole fight down. I didn't cut anything out of it because there's so many interesting and cool parts of it that I didn't want to miss anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this fight through. I'm going to commentate. I'm going to talk through a few little bits that happen in the fight. But first of all, what a great event this was. You know, we had the kickboxing finals. We had some fantastic fights on the card as well. But this for me was fascinating for a whole different reason. You know, you've got DJ, who's one of the best MMA fighters that's ever existed, against Rodtang, who's one of the most lethal Muay Thai fighters that's ever existed. They agreed to fight one another. The rules obviously didn't really favour either fighter because Rodtang was able to do exactly what he does in the first round and DJ had to deal with it. But then as soon as the second round starts, the tables were turned. So straight away, you know, as you can imagine, Rodtang needs to close distance. These are 3-minute rounds and the first one's Muay Thai rules. Now you can see the height and the size advantage. I mean, of course DJ is able to hold his own with anybody physically, but the size and the power of Rodtang was evident, and he was able to take some big shots from DJ as well. I mean, he really did take some shots. It was funny listening to DJ ask him afterwards if any of the shots hurt. You know, I mean, Rodtang, so look at this. He's got 3 minutes to make something count here. He's on the starting blocks, and he's straight across, pressures Mighty Mouse back up against the fence, and he's trying to land meaningful shots immediately. Now there's a stop straight away and a little warning for bringing his hands together. The ruling is that he can't meet his hands together behind the back. So what you'll see now from now on is every time DJ clinches, he's very cautious that he's not getting his hands together. But of course, as you would expect, Rodtang now is trying to catch him, trying to get hands on him. And Mighty Mouse is of course as elusive as you would expect. You can see him not meeting his hands together here. That was one thing I wanted to stop and show you, because there's a replay of this a bit later on as well. But these are the moments that I'm looking for. When you've got DJ and Rodtang, two guys that have got these really cool skill sets, that have got a slightly different interpretation of what combat sports are, how do they match up and what problems can they cause one another? Because of course, Rodtang is going to do things in the clinch that DJ's not seen before and vice versa. So we're going to see Rodtang do a lovely read of a knee attack here. DJ is going to attack with this knee. He's going to go into the midsection, but this is where you can see the wisdom and experience of Rodtang. Watch what he does, and watch the balance and the reaction of DJ just to couple with that. So DJ steps across, and he lifts his right knee up to go into the midsection. Now, as he does that, Rodtang sweeps his leg. It's so cool. And as he sweeps his leg, DJ immediately lands on the other foot. I mean, I'm going to play that through for you full speed because I just want you to see how easy it is to miss the nuances in this fight. Watch this. I mean, it's the littlest thing, but it shows a great level of awareness from Rodtang that he sees that Mighty Mouse is throwing that knee. And the speed at which he makes the decision to take the base leg away. And then Mighty Mouse is able to get his foot back to the floor with amazing balance. Knee, sweep. Oh, brilliant. Those little things are the bits you miss when you see this ferocious pace that Rodtang puts on. He's always sweeping his opponent onto the bigger shots. You can see when he's throwing shots inside, he's trying to stay very, very tight, very close to his chest, because he's expecting Mighty Mouse to put his head in this pocket to stay safe. Now, all the other wild techniques that he's throwing, you know, he can throw what he likes because he's not really concerned about anything coming back. People don't generally hurt Rodtang when they hit him, and DJ's not known as a devastating puncher. So there were big chances that Rodtang could take in this fight, but watch how everything's tight, elbows and knees. It was quite clear he knew what he was dealing with DJ and where he was most likely to be effective. And fair play to DJ for staying on his bike. I mean, he was constantly moving. He did great work in the clinch, even though Rodtang looked physically stronger, was able to throw him off at times. One thing I will say, I was surprised, first of all, how much DJ got backed up and trapped against the fence. I was expecting him to be far more elusive. And the other thing, I'm very surprised at how willing he was to stand and trade with Rodtang. This makes sense. He's moving, he's on his toes, but then when he starts standing with his back against the fence and trading kicks with Rodtang, it's incredibly dangerous because Rodtang's a Muay Thai fighter. So for every time you throw a teep at him, he's got 5 counters ready for you. Every time you throw a jab, he's got 5 counters ready for you. If you throw a body kick, it's the same situation. So DJ opening himself up like this is a massive risk. It shows his gameness. He could have quite easily clinched more and moved more in this fight, and I respect him for wanting to test himself against Rodtang, but he did almost pay for it. He landed great shots, but look at these exchanges here. Teep to the midsection, goes for a high kick. Now he's exchanging punches, takes a hard low kick. Now he's backing up, and Rodtang's stepping in, but he's throwing big bombs over the top, is DJ. It's not until he gets to this point where he starts to clinch, but then again, we miss these small nuances in the sport. Honestly, the majority of other people would have been cracked in the side of the head here with an elbow. But what you'll see with Rodtang is as he throws the elbow, Mighty Mouse rides it. He feels it coming and he dips his head down, stays close to him. Very smart defensive work that paid off really well on the inside against Rodtang, where he could have been at most risk. Bit of smothering on the fence here. This is more what I expected from DJ. There was no reason why he had to be playing Muay Thai with Rodtang. It was not really a smart thing to do. He was quite lucky that Rodtang didn't land one of those power left hooks, because we've seen the damage that they can do to individuals. So back out in the open. Immediately Rodtang's pushing DJ back against the fence, trying to corral him, trying to trap him. This might have been a very different fight if it was in a different shaped arena. But Rodtang was really struggling to keep DJ in one place, and the ability to hustle out of these positions for DJ was it all comes down to basic wrestling skills. This is now no longer Muay Thai for DJ. This is a very familiar MMA position that he spent a lot of time in. It was the risk for Rodtang just charging forward. It was the risk for him trying to rush himself into range. Is that he lovely big shot over the top from DJ. He was there to be clinched. How does he take these shots? He just shakes it off and comes back. Pressure. Lovely body shot there. But now you can see DJ starting to play a little bit more. He's starting to clinch a bit more and hold. And he goes all the way across the other side of the cage for Rodtang to chase him down. Because he knows he's in the last few seconds of this round here, and he's really going to be under pressure. Because Rodtang knows the tables turn immediately here. He walks back to his corner, he hands up, he celebrates. But of course, everything's different when he comes out in this second round. So heavy pressure here, big power hooks. A bit easier for DJ to read perhaps than anything, but good clinch work as well by DJ, who took more risks in that first round than he needed to, in my opinion. He could have been far more elusive, get out, move, or clinch. But he was engaging. He was trying to prove a point, landing big shots, big right hands over the top. Now, as soon as the second round starts, of course, it's a different thing, and you see the approach of Rodtang being very different. He's now backing up, and he's waiting for the level change from DJ to come, which of course is inevitable because second round now is Muay Thai is MMA rules, and if Rodtang can get through this 3 minutes, then he's back to Muay Thai for another 3 minutes, and he had decent success in the first round. He's probably feeling confident that if he gets back there, he can hurt DJ. So, interestingly, he comes out southpaw as well. I don't know whether he's doing this to kind of throw DJ off, but this is a really long-range Rodtang, something that we don't see at all. Being on the outskirts of the cage and poking at his opponent and not trying to engage. You can see he wants to stand and fight. You can see he wants to throw hard shots, but he also knows the danger in engaging with DJ in this second round. And DJ is very, very patient. Of course, he knows that Rodtang's expecting him to come out and try for the takedown immediately. But then there's a timer ticking in both of these guys' heads. In Rodtang's head, it's ticking. It's like, this is going really well. I've been on my feet for 30 seconds now. This is going really well. And in DJ's mind is, okay, the more time I spend on the feet, the less time I have to work on my submissions. And if I don't submit him in this round, then we're back to Muay Thai. Lovely work there on that level change. Now, I am going to point something out here, which I think is needs pointing out. Well, let's have a look at this transition first, because we're not quite there yet. So we're going to see DJ's going to throw a big power kick, and then he's going to level change under the counter left hook of Rodtang, straight onto the legs. Now, the first thing that DJ would have learned from that first round is that clinching with Rodtang and trying to take him down from the clinch is probably not the best way to go. The obvious thing to do is to attack him in a way that feels very unfamiliar, very alien, which is a lower body attack. Get around his legs. So as he takes him down here, sees the opportunity where Rodtang's trying to stay on his feet and jumps and gets a hook in. One hook, the near side hook, the one that the referee can see, right? So he's got this hook in, right? On the other side, he doesn't, though. And there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on here because the referee is over this side, focused on the upper body and the happenings around the neck. He's also seeing that he's got a hook in on this side, so I think he's assuming that there's a hook in on the other side as well. But there isn't. What there is here, cheeky little mouse, is he's hanging on to the cage with his toes. And of course, this is on the referee to catch, but had it not been for these toes in the fence, DJ may not have been able to hold this position. I kind of feel bad for Rodtang because he may have felt like he was controlled fair and square there, and in actuality, DJ was hooking onto the fence for a good few seconds. Yeah, let's just skip it back. So his toes go into the fence immediately. As soon as he's up there, you can see that's DJ's foot there. You can see him drag his foot up the fence. And then as soon as it stops, his toes have hooked in. Now that is holding him to the fence, and it's also holding him on Rodtang's back because he doesn't have a hook on the other side. So, say for example, if Rodtang's able to get a good grip of this tricep and pull DJ this way, he might be able to get him off. He might be able to pull him off his back. Of course, it's DJ. It's not going to be that easy. But there's no hook on the far side. There's nothing keeping DJ on that far side aside from the toes in the fence. And you'll see here, he's attacking, toes are in the fence the whole time here, changes angle, toes are in the fence, and you can see how it's pulling on the fence as well and holding him onto it until he gets a position where he feels like he can disengage. He goes for the other side of the head look, he's going for like a half Nelson position. So now what I'm watching is this left arm that's around the side of Rodtang's neck. He's going to remove this, and he's going to go palm to palm with his forearm across the back of Rodtang's neck, which then put pressure down onto him. He's really trying to get it in, but he's not. Here we go. See, Rodtang's doing a great job of fighting these hands. See, and then he goes to shake him off, and that's the point where DJ loses the grip in the toes of the fence. But this whole time, that is anchoring DJ into that fence. This is really something that the referee should have picked up on, because it does change the position. He's landing a few shots. He's trying to pressure into the back of the head. He's trying to attack the neck, but all the time he's hooked in here, gripping on. You can see him constantly trying to attack the neck. Rodtang's doing a good job of defending here. He tries to shake him off, but then as he falls, DJ stays on his back. He releases the hooks in the fence, and then he's onto the neck. And this, of course, is a very, very unfamiliar position for Rodtang. I'm sure he did some sub-defense, but there are levels to this. He's doing a good job of controlling the wrists. He has an understanding of how to slow this choke down, be it partly instinctive or partly instinctive and partly coached technically. But it was only a matter of time before DJ was going to be able to get this clamp on. And the thing that Rodtang's not doing here is you can see he's pushing on the forearm here. He's not attacking this top arm. What he needs to be doing is grabbing that top hand and pulling it off and then holding on to it. Because as you saw a little earlier, before DJ got his hand free, you can see Rodtang clamped onto this hand here. He's trapping the hand with the glove in it. So that means there's a bit of gamesmanship on both sides here. So he's clamped onto this because he knows that DJ needs both arms to finish it. But once DJ gets this hand free, he goes straight to finish. Peels Rodtang's hand off, hand on the bicep, and then hand on top of the head. And it's just a slow squeeze from this point. And eventually the arm just slips under the neck of Rodtang. he keeps fighting. He tries to hang on. He does not want to give up. There's no quitting him, that's for sure. But when you can't breathe, it's only a matter of time before you're sleeping, and that's what happens here. Very cool. It was a really fun back and forth, of course. You know, this is where DJ level changes after the kick and jumps onto the back. But again, you know, I mean, he jumps in, he hooks his toes into the fence. You'll see it here. Toes go up, and now they're hooked in. But then he's on his back. I can't take anything away from the fact that DJ was able to do what he did to Rodtang, and the respect I have for him in the first round, engaging as much as he did, absolutely. But I also do feel a little bit bad for Rodtang because, you know, he wasn't aware that DJ was clinging onto the fence with his toes, and that was something that should have been caught by the referee, perhaps. Couple of replays here. Let's just have a look through these. I mean, what a special fight it was. I would love him to go again, to be honest. I wouldn't mind seeing them in different rule sets, and I like these mixing of rules. There's that knee to the body we were talking about earlier from a different angle. So DJ goes for the knee to the body, and Rodtang sweeps the leg. Very slick, very cool. I'd like to see some more of these fights, to be honest. I like the fact that I can tune into a one championship card, and I've got some kickboxing and some Muay Thai and some MMA, some grappling matches as well. But this was really special, given the fact that it was these two individuals, you know, DJ and Rodtang, two greats in their own individual fields, coming together under an agreed, customized rule set to see what happens. And as we expected, to be honest, you know, Rodtang was going to really put him on him in the first round, and then DJ, if he was able to ground him in the second, was most likely going to finish by submission. Really fun fight to watch. Big respect to both of these guys, and big respect to One Championship for doing that. It was very enjoyable. And thanks for everybody watching. I appreciate it.